Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
So I go out and I record that on Saturday after the game. I thought, you know what, let's record Monday and record Tuesday for the Inside Penn State Athletics show for the network. That way I can just spend Sunday and I can, besides relaxing, I can just update, Penn State, Wisconsin numbers. It's because it's the rare rematch in a situation like this. So I go through and I record it. We're all set to go. Send it out to the state. I decided to send it out to all the stations that carry it on Saturday evening. Great. And I'm sitting there, and I update Penn State yesterday, and then I update Wisconsin yesterday. So I worked on it for maybe an hour and a half or whatever. And about 3 o'clock, I get a text message. Hey, by the way, they've changed the tip-off time to 8:30. It's going to be on BTN. I'm like, okay. Now, fortunately, of course, I have the Sunbury Motors studio in my basement, so it's not as if I have to travel anywhere to do anything. That's no issue. But I had to come back down here. I thought, okay. All right, let's see. Let's check out the end. All right, the end on Monday is 14 seconds. All right, the end on Tuesday is 11 seconds. So I recorded 14 seconds and redid the ending of this one. I had to change it to 8:30 and 8 o'clock, and I changed the one on for Tuesday, say 8:30 and 8 o'clock. Like, obviously opponents change, days change, but this is the first time I think we've had one where they changed the tip-off time of an existing game. And Dick from Milton had called about what were they going to do about Wisconsin and Michigan in the tri-meet because Michigan can't wrestle right now. Well, if you notice, Penn State is going to wrestle tomorrow as well at Wisconsin. Since they're already out there, they're at Wisconsin. And so since they're already out there after wrestling Northwestern and Indiana and winning them both, they're just staying out there. So the wrestling team didn't come back, just staying out there. And they're going to go to Wisconsin, wrestle at 5 o'clock in the Fieldhouse tomorrow night. Then Penn State's going to play at Cole at 8:30 tomorrow. So both teams will be there. Okay. So that's how they're going to work it out. Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business. Yes. That is a great opportunity for make sure that you're with the pros in insurance, and they're going to do everything they can to save you money. And you're going to be insured in just the right way. Insurance is more important than ever. I know that several people in the station have inquired about accident insurance, which is otherwise known as the suit clause. But it's all at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. We are in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai. Great new inventory. Fabulous pre-owned inventory. With the Sunbury Motors guarantee, all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. So, I know we have about 8.5, 9 inches here. It's still snowing a bit here. So, Matt, how is life there?
I think we're approaching a foot in most places across the area, if not over that by now.
How about that?
I had 6 in my house when I left this morning, and then Lisa texted me, and she said we got up to 9, and that was around lunchtime, so I'm sure we're near that mark now, of a foot or so.
Well, see, what's happening here is, even though State College is on the western end of this, the snow is now really picked up. Now, why is the snow really picked up? Well, the reason the snow's really picked up is that the nor'easter part of it has kicked in, and now it's rolling back over us again, coming from the east to the west. So that's where we are with this. And that's where you are.
Yes.
I mean, you're here in a tougher spot than we are here.
Yeah.
By a wide margin.
Our current AccuWeather totals are now 12 to 18 inches by the time it's all said and done.
I mean, I was just looking at the radar, and there's a couple Russian ICBMs on here, but that's so I wouldn't sweat the snow. So I'm just kidding. Just a joke. That wasn't funny. Nuclear war is not funny. All right. And it's supposed to go into tomorrow morning, huh? Till 6?
Yeah, we actually have a couple of schools already closed or going virtual tomorrow.
Come on. No guts, no glory. Come on. I taught class this morning. All right. We did an entire class today on what not to do in broadcasting. Right. Remember all those clips of the suit that I saved?
I think you showed them, didn't you?
I want these people to have success. Oh my goodness. All right. I don't think that's funny.
You also should show them basically the C, D, and E teams on NFL on Fox, too.
Oh, you're just not. Well, you think the CBS guys are better?
Not by much, but some of the NFL on Fox broadcast teams this year were pretty rough. And more or less the color guys were than the play-by-players.
The analyst part is I've talked once about analysts many times. Who are the best analysts? And the best analysts to me are the ones that when the game is over, you feel like you not only learn more about the game you just watched, but you learn about the game itself in general. And that's why Jack Ham is invaluable. That is why Dick Girardi is invaluable. And I'm the greatest beneficiary of it, without question. I mean, as the play-by-play announcer, to be sitting there working side by side with two people that over the years have allowed me to expand my horizons as to how I think about a game as a play-by-play person. Well, if they're doing that for me as I do the game, imagine what it's doing for the fan who's trying to learn more about the game. Jack and Dick both do that. Unfortunately, not everybody meets that standard on TV. I think Tony Romo does. Romo does a good job. I think over the year, Chris Collinsworth, I think, has always done a really good job with doing that. Troy Aikman has certainly had his moments of doing that. I'll give you a guy that's very underrated in college basketball. Very, very underrated. But every time I watch him, listen to him, or talk with him, I feel like I know more about the game. A guy like, again, he's not the A, B, or C team, whatever team you want to put him on. Fran Fraschilla. Fran Fraschilla is one of the, he's mostly doing Big 12 games. And I've talked about Fran in the realm of how much he knows about international players when it comes to the NBA draft, which is phenomenal, by the way. His knowledge is phenomenal. But as an analyst, he's the same way. I feel like when the game's over, I learn more about the game that I just watched and the game in general. And, Fran's interesting because, he made the tournament. He was 9 years as a head coach, made the tournament 8, then was out of a job at 43. But he had younger, his children were, still young at that point. So he wanted to see them get through high school before getting back in the game. And as time has gone, that didn't happen. But in broadcasting, he's been able to go out there and really give us all that knowledge. Now, there's nothing like being at a shoot-around and just talking with Fran. Or there's nothing, for example, being in a hotel lobby. I mean, last year I did that tournament in Brooklyn, and Fran did the tournament. And we're just hanging in the lobby. I don't know. It was over an hour, for goodness sakes, just chit-chatting about this and that and this and that, whatever, because, that's the kind of guy he is. He's very approachable, but he's so knowledgeable. You want to tap into that knowledge as often as possible. And he's one of those underrated guys that a lot of people don't talk about. He's not going to be the big name. There's some people that are big names in this business. I'll give credit where credit's due. I think Jay Billis, by the way, does do that. He does a great job with that. But there are other people that are, quote, big names in doing this in college basketball, where you sit back and go, when it's over with, I got nothing. I got nothing. You sit back and go, I don't get why. Bill Raftery I love. Raftery is just... He is legendary for a reason. But there are a lot of guys in the college basketball thing where you sit back and go, ugh. And probably the same things happening in football, where you look around and say, I'm not getting anything out of this. Yeah, now Kirk Herbstreit, yeah, I do. There's a lot of people. I mean, I'll give you an underrated guy, Jim Laurinaitis, BTN, very underrated, or very underrated. The Chief, bigger burden than most. And doesn't get as much time to talk for some odd reason, but has a lot more to correct for some odd reason. But that's a different topic, different day, don't you think, Matt? Back with more in a moment, brought to you by Purdy Insurance here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Hi, this is Season from Purdy Insurance. 2021 has begun, and this is the perfect time to make sure you're protecting what matters most. Whether it be you, your family, or your business, we have the experience and knowledge you need to help navigate through the process. Our office remains available to service our new and current clients by phone at 570-286-5855, by email, and by appointment. Purdy Insurance, what can we do for you?
All right, great to have you with us on the show. On this Monday, Kim Jones joining us from NFL Network in the next half hour. Looking forward to that. And John Clayton's going to join us on Wednesday. Looking forward to that very much. Great comeback for Bucknell over the weekend. Women's basketball had a great comeback. Men's basketball team dominated Lehigh. That's great.
Yes, it was a very good day to be a Bison yesterday.
So that's terrific. Happy for Nathan and the team. And I don't know the women's basketball coach well, but obviously I know Kelly. I'll forever be a Kelly fan, personally and professionally. So, but yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the women's team 8-0 now.
That's great.
Best start in program history.
They're doing really well. Now, are you the public address announcer for both?
Yes.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, so one day, the way the Patriot League schedule is, it's all weekends, and each team flip-flops home and away.
All right.
So I get to see both of them every weekend.
All right.
Had the men yesterday, had the women on Saturday.
That's great. That is great. All right. All right. So good news there. It's Super Bowl week, by the way. And a lot going on with the Super Bowl. And today, the focus of Super Bowl week will be on Brady. Tomorrow, the focus of Super Bowl week will be on Mahomes. On Wednesday, the focus on Super Bowl week will be Brady. Thursday, the focus of Super Bowl week will be on Mahomes. Then Friday, the focus of Super Bowl week will be on Brady. And then Saturday, the focus of Super Bowl week will be on Mahomes.
Got it.
Because we have become a media of low-hanging fruit. To be honest with you, I think it's sad. That's why somebody asked me, I never watched Super Bowl pregame shows. To watch what? Now, it doesn't mean they don't do a great job. I'm sure they do a fabulous job. Fabulous job. Okay? But I don't get anything personally. I'm talking about me personally. I don't get anything out of it. That doesn't mean you don't. I just don't. I don't. And if I'm CBS, I'm doing 4 hours because guess what? You can sell it. I mean, that's 4 hours of inventory you can sell leading up to the Super Bowl. It's a great idea. It's great. So I don't blame them at all for how long. But I just have no desire to watch it. None. I mean, to me, a lot of this ball game is going to come down to how does Kansas City handle not having its two starting offensive tackles in there against a team that has Jason Pierre-Paul and has Shaq Barrett on the edge, and has that secondary for Tampa Bay grown up a bit because their 6 primary guys that have seen the most snaps are all 24 and younger. And Tyreek Hill tore them apart. Now, what adjustments have been made to keep that from happening? But again, today the focus is on Brady. Brady gets today, Wednesday, Friday. Mahomes gets tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we're going to do that.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business. They'll find you exactly the right insurance that you need. They'll save you money, maybe in bundles. But they'll do everything they can to save you money, but also make sure that you're insured. And they'll update whenever you need it. They're the pros in insurance. That is our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. And we are in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Very pleased to be joined by the great Kim Jones. Kim, welcome back. It's so great to hear you.
Thanks so much, Steve. How you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
Good. Lots of snow. I hear you're getting some, too. So snowed in at the moment, but I guess that's okay.
Not quite in the same ballpark as you guys are getting, I don't think. I mean, we're like 8 or 9 inches of snow here, and
yeah, we're definitely over a foot. So we have a lot in New Jersey. Yeah, a lot of snow.
Yeah. So are you going to be allowed to go this year?
Yes,
Super Bowl?
I'll go Wednesday. I mean, assuming weather permits.
Right, sure.
Although by then flights will be leaving, I would assume. So yes, I will go Wednesday. So a little bit of a different week, a little bit of a shorter week. Obviously, nothing in person. This morning, I spent time on I have the Bucs this year, so on the Bucs. Virtual calls, Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, Jason Pierre-Paul were the main ones, and Todd Bowles were the main ones I was on. But, yeah, so, it's different, but I think we've all gotten used to it with the Zooms, dating back from, almost a year ago, really, about, what was it, maybe 10 months ago we were entrenched in Zoom, so I think we've gotten used to it.
Yeah, used to it. Well, being used to it, but you know how the job should be done. So, getting down there, what are some of the goals that they want you to accomplish by physically actually being there?
Honestly, I think it's just the presence, Steve. I really do, to be honest with you. We've been working out of our homes during the weeks, and then I generally go to a game. Lots of Buffalo this year, some Washington, a Jets and Giants game or two along the way, but not many with my local teams. But mostly Buffalo, and a distant second, I think, would probably be Washington in terms of the teams I saw the most this season. So, I think it's more the presence. It's to be on the scene. I think at least part of the time I'll be at the Bucs hotel. The funny part there is, they don't really have to stay in it until the night before the game, I don't believe. So, we'll be there. We'll have a presence at the stadium. I'll do the earlier shift on Sunday, so I'll be at the hotel. My colleague James Palmer will be doing the Bucs from the stadium, and then at the moment, I can't remember, actually, to be honest with you, who's covering the Chiefs. But for us, I think Jeff Shadia, I believe, and maybe Steve White. So, it'll be presence-wise kind of the same. It's just, all of our methodology now is just so much different. And I'm not completely down on Zoom calls. I don't want us to go to those completely. I don't want us to just be virtual. But I do think players and coaches, I can speak only for the NFL, I think have gone out of their way to understand this is the only way we can do our jobs this year. And for the most part, they've really been outstanding. Very, very few have been what I would consider to be subpar, and a lot have been, great to beyond great. So I think that they've tried to help us as much as they could in terms of as interviewees, in a league where we do depend on being in the locker room.
What's interesting is that, and I've told people, because you and I have both covered Super Bowl Media Day before, and, as much as you try to get what you need, there's also a wide range of individuals at Super Bowl Media Day that don't cover the NFL.
Right.
Did you find that the calls this morning felt more like, obviously it's a Super Bowl, but felt more like a normal game week because it was a Zoom call?
Yeah, it was 100% either football questions or at least football-related questions. It doesn't mean they're all about the game. As you know and as the listeners know, it can be about Tom Brady and his future, but that is still a football topic.
Yes,
Tom Brady does he wish he had some of Mahomes' gifts? That is still a football topic.
Right.
Osi Umenyiora called in. I don't know if Osi's in London he lives in London. I don't know if he's in London right now or not, but literally called in, and he is a member of the media, literally called in just to say hello to Jason Pierre-Paul, who absolutely loved it and laughed hysterically for about 20 seconds. So, but still, I'm not going to tell Osi and Jason they're not football guys because they are ultimate football guys. So, there was none of the, people with the funny hats or, I think you have to go back a little bit for this, the women asking for marriage proposals. There was none of that stuff on Zoom.
Right. No, I can remember being at one, and I was talking with Michael Robinson, who was at the Seahawks, and it was just the two of us chit-chatting because we were done. And Hank Azaria comes over and wants to ask questions. I said, this didn't quite.
Right.
Great. Moe's Tavern wants questions.
Right.
All right. You mentioned the Bills, and I'll get back to this game in a moment. Since you saw the Bills enough this year, and you told the great story to us the last time about Terry Pegula bringing Sean McDermott on his way through here to talk to Cale Sanderson.
Yes.
What do you see in the organization of the Buffalo Bills, led by Sean McDermott, that they might be built for the long haul in this thing?
Yeah, and Brandon Beane, who I think by at least one measure, and there will be more to come, is executive of the year in terms of the GM of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane. It's football genius. I've said this publicly. They have now given the struggling teams a blueprint on how to turn it around in 4 years. I know teams that I think are going to sail past 4 years without turning it around. They have been very smart. They have taken chances. They traded up to get Josh Allen, the same draft. When they had earlier traded the pick to Kansas City, which got Mahomes. The next year they trade up to get Josh Allen. They had conviction about Josh Allen very early because I was there for it. I heard them. They believed in him. They believed in how smart he is, and he's very bright. They believed in his athletic talent, and they certainly believed in his cannon for an arm. And this is amid, the first 2 years of Josh's career when, every expert alive couldn't wait to tell you that a quarterback can't improve his accuracy. Right. And that's just not true because Josh, through a lot of hard work and through an incredible array of playmakers around him. They don't have everything, but they have great playmakers around him, the final piece being Stephon Diggs, of course, who fit in beautifully in Buffalo and absolutely loves it in Buffalo and was, I think, as crushed as any player I've ever seen after a game where the season ends. It means a lot to Stephon Diggs, who I do think is probably in one of those categories of, players that we like to misunderstand because he's been terrific as a Buffalo Bill. So I think that when you talk about Buffalo, it's about getting key pieces in free agency. You have to draft well. I think they're still looking for the real Ed Oliver to stand up. He was a big draft pick a couple of years ago. Exactly. A.J. Epinesa, who, I thought there was a chance maybe they'd draft Yetur. They drafted Epinesa. He was very much up and down. He ended up, I think, losing too much weight to enter the season, and then it's a battle to gain weight to enter a season. So I think he had a little bit of a literally up and down rookie season. I know, Yetur certainly had his moments in Carolina. But they really, and the word culture is one I've come to hate because I think it's much more about people than culture, and I think culture makes it inanimate, which it's not. It's about the people, and they've brought in the right people, and I'll leave you with I know this is a very long answer, Steve, but Tre'Davious White is a cornerback in this league, and sometimes cornerbacks are looked at a certain way, and so they've earned it over the years. They're obviously on an island often. They're often one of the most self-assured / cocky players on the field because they have to be. And we've seen, obviously the Hall of Famers are just, they're wondrous to watch play cornerback in this league. Well, Tre'Davious White is everything without having any of that. And I don't think all of that, by the way, is a bad thing. I don't think confidence is a bad thing. I never have. I don't think a cocky athlete is a bad thing because sometimes that's what makes them who they are. Tre'Davious White is a wonderful teammate. He was Sean McDermott's first draft pick before Beane even came on board. He said at one point on Zoom this year that occasionally he'll be in the facility and he'll stop Sean when he sees him and thank him for taking, quote-unquote, a chance on him as his first ever draft pick. They have in Josh Allen and Tre'Davious White, and the list goes on in terms of the defensive side of the ball, but they have two of the finest leaders you would ever want an organization to have, and I will never discount that.
So let's stay on the leadership part of this for a moment, but shift franchises, going from Western New York to Northern Jersey, suburban New York, and that's the Jets. They hire Robert Saleh to come in to be the head coach. What's the initial read about what he can mean to their organization?
I think a lot. Saleh was very impressive, I thought, at his opening press conference. Now, I think almost all of the men we've seen hired in this hiring cycle, they're all Zoom calls and everything else, I think they have all seemed to me to be slightly more nervous than I would have anticipated. But I also think, whatever the age they are, and Houston hired a 65-year-old, the Jets hired, right. I don't even know, Saleh's, 37, 38, something like that. And then there are a couple, I think, younger than Saleh even, but or right around his age. But, they've not really done this as head coaches for the most part. So, the nerves on opening day, so to speak, are something that I certainly would not hold against them. They did surprise me a little bit, but then when I thought about it, I thought, well, these guys were coordinators and assistant coaches. They weren't doing Zooms all the time, like all the head coaches were and like all the big players were. They were doing Zooms once a week maybe, or if that, in their previous jobs as assistants or coordinators. So, I think in Saleh they have a very, very charismatic person. I think they have someone who players will relate to and want to play for and want to play hard for, and you can never discount that in the NFL. And I think they have someone who is going to be the coach of the entire team, which is what the Johnsons wanted this time around, as opposed to a coordinator who spends most of his time on defense like Todd Bowles did, and Todd Bowles is as great a man as you'll find in this league, or on offense as Adam Gase did. So they got their quote-unquote football CEO in Saleh. It's going to be a matter of him learning on the job, putting the pieces together, and having some of his enthusiasm for the game, frankly, translate to players who had a very depressing season this year, for lack of a better word.
So you mentioned Todd Bowles. Obviously, the one time Kansas City played Tampa Bay this year, Tyreek Hill had a first quarter to remember.
Yes.
I think something like 133
numbers were crazy.
Yards.
Yep.
Yeah, off the charts. Todd Bowles is a really terrific defensive mind. And his top 6 guys in this secondary, Kim, you can correct me on this, I think are all 24 years and younger.
They're very young. I know that, and I know Antoine Winfield Jr. is one of them. But yes, they're very young.
Oh, Winfield is. I saw him last year when I did the game out at Minnesota. I said, man, this guy can play. Mm-hmm. What did he learn out of that, and that they feel that with now just more experience, because they've got 10 more games under their belt, did he get into that what they have learned from that experience that they can apply now?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think that he looks at that game as the one where after that they started to really improve. He talked today about, and their names escape me at the moment, but the position coaches dealing with and coaching up those really young secondary guys, and how they started to really come on after that game. So I think the biggest thing in sports, Steve, as you know, is confidence. So they will at least go into this game with more confidence, believing that they have been playing better and that they're better equipped second time around in a season to see Patrick Mahomes and company. Doesn't mean you're going to have great success against them, of course, but I think they at least go into it in a better frame of mind. They also have, a front that can be the secondary's best friend. So, as you know, so they also have a front that's been getting after it. Jason Pierre-Paul, Barrett, and Ndamukong Suh with the push up the middle. They got Vita Vea back, which they never thought they were going to get Vita Vea back. Enormous guy, I think, out of Washington, if memory is correct from the combine. But just an enormous human being who, they figured they'd see next season. He worked his way back. He's back. That'll be a big thing. That'll be a big part of Sunday's game, I think. And really, when you talk about the front, they're going to face backups at tackle. And when Jason Pierre-Paul was asked that today, he said that's their problem. Like, I don't care about their tackles, and that's Jason. Jason does not care about their tackles. He just cares about getting to the quarterback and or stopping the run, because he's good at that as well. But he, they don't need to worry about the Chiefs' problems. They have enough issues in terms of dealing with the Chiefs. But I do think this second time around, Tampa is a better football team, and B may get a break because of the situation at tackle for the Chiefs. It's tough to win in this league with good tackles, let alone guys who are in a fill-in capacity because of injury.
Yeah, because I saw Vea in the Fiesta Bowl against Penn State when Saquon went 92 yards for a touchdown, by the way. So I saw Vita Vea play.
Yeah.
And by the way, they just went through the same situation with Green Bay. They were using backup tackles, and they just crushed those guys off the edge.
That's a good point. Yep, they did. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so now, okay, one final question. Here's the obligatory Brady question. Did you learn anything, just either from everybody else or just from him himself, maybe something that after all the years that you've covered him, been around him, that maybe even you didn't know before?
Probably not, to be honest with you. But yeah. I do think he does, he did a nice job. Listen, it was 45 minutes. That's a long session. It's 45 minutes. He had, a political question, which, that's kind of the times we're in. He had a couple questions from kids, which he responded to very well, as you'd probably expect. He had questions about his longevity, about how long he's going to do it. I did think it, somewhat interesting that he does think he'll know when he's finished, and he clearly doesn't think he's at that point. Now, okay, duh, which I understand is the answer, but at some point that answer is going to change. It just hasn't yet. I do think he's been rejuvenated under Bruce Arians. He's a different personality than Bill Belichick. I think that's stating the absolute obvious. But Tom also said that he and Bill have a great relationship, and that, he's so grateful for his time there. So I thought it was a chance by Tom to kind of take a high road, and he did. And he did. Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that he said that necessarily, but hearing it live, you just kind of said, oh, okay, there's the Belichick answer that, an awful lot of people, especially in New England, are going to look for, and it will be one that they can appreciate. Listen, Tom gets it. He's the biggest star in the league. The league, I'm sure, is absolutely thrilled he's in this Super Bowl, and why wouldn't they be? And then on the other side, you have a young quarterback who conceivably might break all of Brady's records. It's not going to be easy to get to 10 Super Bowls, but you look at Patrick Mahomes and you think if anyone can get like a pretty good head start on it, it certainly is him.
Yeah, this will be 55. This will be 10. That's nearly one out of every 9 Super Bowls he's been in.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing.
Other than that, you mentioned the word appreciation. I always have appreciated you. Thank you so much, Kim, for your time. Very much.
Anytime, Steve. Thanks so much.
Kim Jones, NFL Network. We'll come back with more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Great to have you with us on the show today. Thanks to Kim Jones. Going down to Tampa, it looks like on Wednesday, she said, weather permitting, of course. And, it's a lot about presence. But I will say this. That's one of the reasons why I asked her about the Zoom calls. And it's what I mentioned last week, that I expected this media week to be better and more informative than other years, because it strips out the, for the lack of a better term, sometimes the quote clown element of it. Like people are saying, really? So they're here, they're available for 1 hour, and you just took 5 minutes of everybody's hour? No, I didn't care. I can move on to somebody else, something else, go over to what we call the bullpen and talk to people there in the bullpen area. But, it's the way it is. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth.
The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle with a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.